Hello everyone. Welcome to our live stream. Thank you so much for being here. I really always enjoy doing these live streams because there's just something about it being live, about being here with you together, about being able to answer your questions. So yeah, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. For those of you who are joining me for the very first time, my name is Irina Getkin and I'm a learning and development consultant. Now, I have been in this field of learning and development since 2011, I believe, and one of my biggest frustrations, especially in the beginning of my career, was that I had to learn a lot of different things by trial and error. So it was very frustrating, especially when you got to the error part. That's why at the end of 2020, 2021, beginning of 2021, my colleague and very dear friend Rhea and I co-founded the L&D Academy. We've been proudly creating online educational space for learning and development practitioners from around the world with different backgrounds. And our aim is ultimately to help you learn the secrets of the trade, develop your employees and organizations, and build a career in the field that you can grow in as a learning and development professionals. On our website, you'll find tons of free resources, templates, checklists, and other goodies, as well as a blog where we try to share as many of our top tips and tricks as possible. And for those of you who are interested in taking the next step in your L&D career, we also offer a few self-paced online courses. Now, if you want a 10% discount to our paid courses, stick around to the end of the stream. Now, what are we talking about today? Well, today we're discussing how to create a learning and development strategy, but we're going to do it with a bit of a twist. Now, we'll use the latest trends in artificial intelligence, specifically ChatGPT. Now, what are we talking about? Well, first of all, strategy. Let's talk about strategy. It's somewhat still the beginning of the year, which means that a lot of companies are either finalizing or putting the final touches on their strategy for the year, or they've just now started to kind of really work on it. And learning and development is obviously no different. But something interesting happened a couple of months ago. OpenAI, which is the company behind DALL-E 2, which is a deep learning model that lets you generate these amazing digital images from text prompts, easy text prompts. Well, what they did is they released their next big thing, which was ChatGPT. It literally took the world by storm. It managed to get 100 million users in just 2 months. Just so you know what that number means, the telephone managed to get 100 million users in about 75 years. So yes, 2 months, very impressive. And to be fair with you, everywhere I looked, it seemed like someone out there was using the chatbot to automate some of their work or to find answers to complicated questions. And of course, some were there to just have fun with it and test its limits. And at first, to be fair with you, it wasn't available to everyone, but the moment I got my hands on it, I started testing it for different L&D tasks. And one thing really stood out to me, and that was how easy you can find answers to sometimes not very straightforward questions that are related to learning and development. So I thought, why not combine the two and see how ChatGPT can help us? So what are we doing today? Well, first of all, I want to show you exactly what ChatGPT is, what it stands for, and we're going to do it again with a slight twist. Then we'll talk about what are the key components of a learning and development strategy, and this is where we'll do our very first test, which is to ask ChatGPT, what exactly are those key components of a learning and development strategy? The next thing that we'll do is another test where we will feed ChatGPT with some data that I completely made up to see if it can come up with a learning and development strategy based on this data. And then finally, I'll show you what's the right way to do a learning and development or to create a learning and development strategy by asking ChatGPT to give me some fake company details. And then I'll show you the process that I normally use to create a learning and development strategy so that hopefully by the end of our live stream today, you'll be able to follow those steps yourself in your own company. So with that being said, the very first thing on our agenda is what exactly is ChatGPT. Now, What it stands for is quite literally generative pre-trained transformer, which if you're anything like me means absolutely nothing to you. But what I found in my research was this amazing interview done with ChatGPT about ChatGPT. A person called Gerardo Castaneda, and I'm really hoping I'm pronouncing the name correctly, but he essentially did an interview with ChatGPT and kind of try to understand what it's all about. And I specifically really loved this part of the interview. So the question is, what does GPT stand for? And it says GPT stands for Generative Pre-training Transformer. It is the name of the model architecture that I was trained on. Generative models are a type of machine learning model that are capable of generating new data, such as text, images, or speech, which are things we already saw in DALL-E 2 and then now in ChatGPT. And then pre-training refers to the process of training a model on a large data set before fine-tuning it on a smaller task-specific data set, which I believe I've done in my tests with ChatGPT recently, but I'll show you what I mean a little later on today. And then the transformer architecture is a type of neural network that is particularly well suited for natural language processing tasks, such as language translation and text summarization. And yes, as you can see, Gerardo here said that's a lot to unpack. If you want to read the full interview, I'll have the link to this article, to this LinkedIn article in the description in the live stream. I'll add it a little bit later, and it's definitely worth a read because it's very interesting to see how ChatGPT explains ChatGPT. But this is essentially what it looks like today. And I have zoomed it in. Chances are on your computer it's going to look slightly different. But if you have access to it, this is what it would look like. Now, I told you that I wanted to kind of play around with it and understand where, or how rather, ChatGPT thinks, and combine it with this topic of creating a learning and development strategy. So one of the questions that I want to ask ChatGPT is, what exactly are the key components of a strategy? In other words, what do we need to pay attention to? And I have prepared this prompt for us. So what are the key components of a learning and development strategy? Let's press enter and see what ChatGPT tells us. So a learning and development strategy is a plan that outlines the objectives, activities, and resources required to develop the skills and knowledge of employees within an organization. So far, so good. Here are some of the key components that are typically included. Needs analysis, good start. This involves identifying the skills and knowledge gaps within the organization that need to be addressed through L&D initiatives. Yes, that's a very good point. Goals and objectives is the next thing. Actually, you know what? I am going to copy all of this here. Oh, it's not done generating. So let's give it a second there. All right. It's almost done. I'm going to copy this, and then I'm going to go into my iPad, and I will try to take some. Oh, that is very small. Why is it so small? Okay, let me make this a little bit bigger, because this is obviously we're not going to be able to read this. Okay, let's say that this is where we're happy with the text. Don't worry, I'll make it bigger. So the very first thing that ChatGPT tells us is the needs analysis. And it's absolutely right. One of the very first things that you want to understand is essentially what are the learning needs? What are the things that you want, what are the gaps that exist in the skills, the knowledge, the competencies in general, maybe even the behaviors and attitudes of the employees, managers, and leaders within the organization. So for me, this definitely passes the test. Goals and objectives. And it says setting clear goals and objectives for the L&D program, including the skills and knowledge that need to be developed, the target audience, and the expected outcome. This is not here nor there, in all fairness. But if you look at it from kind of a grander scheme of things, yes, you need to understand what are the goals and objectives of not just the L&D program, but you need to understand the goals and objectives of the business in general, because without that alignment to the business goals, without that alignment to what the strategy is of the business, you're essentially just creating fancy programs that honestly shouldn't really exist. Curriculum design Interesting. Hang on. Let's see. Developing a curriculum that is aligned with the identified needs and goals and that incorporates a variety of teaching methods and resources such as classroom instruction, e-learning, and on-the-job training. That is very interesting, and I'll tell you why. So for me, that is a bit of a 50-50 here, because the strategy itself should be a high-level plan of what's going to be happening specifically in learning and development for, let's say, the next year. Curriculum design, for me, is such a granular thing. Like, you wouldn't actually sit down and design what the program is going to include, how it's going to be taught, and all that. You would consider the high-level content that you would include. You would consider the learning method. So this, for me, definitely checks out. But you wouldn't necessarily go into such granularity as the curriculum design itself. All right, the delivery method. This is what I just said. Determining the most effective delivery methods for the curriculum, such as in-person training, online learning, coaching, mentoring, and peer-to-peer learning. So you see, this is what I meant earlier by this. By definition, it's hang on, I need to reread that again because I can never remember it. So that transformer architecture, which is a type of neural network that is particularly well suited for natural language processing tasks such as language translations and text summarizations. So what it essentially means is that they're putting together, or ChatGPT, didn't realize that was a mouthful, but ChatGPT is essentially putting together sentences and words that it believes go together. And it does make sense when you read it on surface level. So delivery methods, yes, you have in-person training, wonderful. You have online courses or learning, excellent. Coaching and mentoring are, again, definitely there. Peer-to-peer learning, amazing. What I really love, however, is the P part, which is pre-training, refers to the process of training a model on a large data set before fine-tuning it on a smaller task-specific data set. So I've been playing with ChatGPT for the better part of the past couple of weeks now. And one thing that everyone around me who spend any amount of time with me know is one thing that really frustrates me about learning and development is that a lot of people think that L&D just refers to training, but there is actually so much more to L&D than just the training part, right? And it has learned that. It has literally learned that because it's giving me all these other options apart from training. And that makes me very happy. And that makes me like ChatGPT even more. So that checks out. Evaluation is the next part. So establishing metrics to measure the success of the L&D program and to evaluate the impact on employee performance, engagement, and retention. So yes, 100% yes, this is accurate. Your strategy should include a mechanism of how you're going to measure the success or how you're going to realize whether or not what you've done is essentially what you had to do and what you achieved is essentially what you wanted to achieve. So yes, evaluation is definitely part of it. But one thing I want to highlight here, and again, I don't know if I've helped it learn that or if it's fine-tuning its response based on what's out there in terms of information. But what I want to highlight are these three things. So it's not just about whether or not people like it, because normally when we talk about evaluation in the L&D field, it's about how happy people are with the learning program or training or class or whatever it may be. Maybe we measure their knowledge or how it has changed. Maybe we measure their behaviors. In some very rare cases, we measure the return on investment. But what ChatGPT is telling us, very correctly so, by the way, I'm not saying you shouldn't be measure all of those things, but it tells us that we need to measure the impact on specifically the employee performance, engagement, and retention, essentially the things that really matter to a business. Let's take a look next. Resources. Identifying the resources required to implement the L&D program, including budget, staffing, and technology. If it didn't include budget, I was going to be very upset with it. But yes, yes, it has our budget there. It has our staffing. It has our technology. So all good stuff. And these are definitely things we want to be considering in our L&D strategy anyways. The last thing is continuous improvement. Very interesting. So let's see. Developing a plan for ongoing review and improvement of the L&D strategy to ensure it remains aligned with the changing needs of the organization. And I love the fact that it has included this. I personally don't always talk about this specific element, but it makes sense. In my world, it makes sense because at the end of the day, you do want to make sure that if you're setting a strategy for a year ahead or 5 years ahead, that strategy, you want to make sure that that strategy still works 3 months from now, 5 months from now, 10 months from now. And the whole reason is, again, because we live in such dynamic times. Things change all the time. New legislation may be introduced. New technology like ChatGPT all of a sudden takes the world by storm. So we need to be understanding what's happening in the industry. We need to be understanding what's happening in the company. And we need to be understanding what's happening with our strategy and how that will impact our strategy and everything that we do. So I absolutely love this. I have to tell you, so it gave us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 things. Only one of those I was kind of iffy on. But overall, I am very impressed. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I did try this earlier and it gave me slightly different results. So this is what ChatGPT told me earlier. The key components of an L&D strategy, according to ChatGPT, should be the business goals and objectives. Tick. Absolutely, 100%. The training needs analysis. Oh, one thing about specifically about the business goals and objectives, one thing I would add here is the strategy, because you want to be understanding of where the company wants to go and how it intends to get there. So strategy, 100%. Training needs analysis. Again, we go back to this, I don't want to see training. I want to see learning needs analysis, because if you're only looking for training needs, then you may potentially miss on a lot of other opportunities or a lot of other requests from the business for learning, because we learn in many different ways, not just through training. So yes, needs analysis, let's keep it learning. Learning and development goals. Yes, you essentially want to know what are the goals of the department, or rather your strategy should dictate. So I'm actually taking it back. To me, that's a bit of a 50-50. The training delivery method, again, if we rename this to learning delivery methods, yes, 100%. Same thing here. Again, content and curriculum, how granular should you go in your strategy? If you're saying I need to design or I need to deliver a leadership development program for our leadership population or part of our leadership population, and I wanted to focus on this, and that topic, yes, that's perfectly fine. This is definitely something that should go on your L&D strategy. If, however, for each of those topics, you're then going into design of the session and like, to me, granularity, another mouthful, sorry about that. It shouldn't live in your L&D strategy. So kind of a 50-50 here. Training evaluation, again, I'm going to scratch out this word training and leave just evaluation or learning evaluation, budget and resources, absolutely. And then one thing that I didn't see in the list that we just looked at, this list over here, is communication and stakeholder management. One thing that I absolutely need to stress out, and I will stress it later when we talk about the process that I personally use, your strategy is only as good as the communication plan that goes with it. Simply because if you have this super amazing strategy, this super amazing plan for the year ahead, and you tell no one about it, people won't be able to get on board. They won't be able to understand even where it's coming from, why you're doing it the way you're doing it, why are you focusing on certain things and then not focusing on other things, especially if your strategy, your L&D strategy involves things that have never been done in the company before. And I do have an example like this. I used to work for a company, a pretty large company, but they didn't have any online courses, no LinkedIn Learning, no nothing. I'm not going to mention other names. Sorry, not sponsored. But one thing that was very clear is that the in-house training that we were providing was simply not good enough, and people craved more on-time or just-in-time learning. And so one of the solutions that we realized could work for us was to introduce online courses into the organization. And actually, that was a massive success. We ran a pilot, but we had to make sure that people understood why we're introducing this. It wasn't just because we were removing the in-house training or the one-day long workshops, but it was because we wanted to provide just-in-time courses that anyone could take anywhere at any time. So they have this flexibility. And once people understood that, they were fully on board. They were very appreciative. And again, the evaluation that we did later on was amazing. So yeah, good stuff. Okay, so now that we've seen what are the key components of a learning and development strategy according to ChatGPT, let's move on. And like I said, we'll keep playing with ChatGPT. But by the way, if there are any prompts that you want me to try out, let me know in the chat messages. I would love to try it out for you and see what ChatGPT says about all of those things. So now let's move on. I told you that we were going to do some tests. The first test that I want to do is I want to give ChatGPT some random, well, it's not super random, but it is some data about the learning needs assessment, about the demographics of the company, a little bit about the industry, and see if it can generate a learning and development strategy for me. Now, I did a few tests earlier today, so I kind of know what to expect, but let me walk you through the process. So what I've done is I have prepared a prompt that I'm going to ask ChatGPT to work with. And the question is, what learning and development strategy should be implemented for ABC Incorporated? And then I am giving the ChatGPT, I'm giving it the information. So the company is called ABC Inc. The industry is manufacturing. The location is United States, and we have 1,000 employees. Then we dive into the demographics. So the ages are, majority of our employees are between 30 and 50 years old. We have about 1/3, a bit over than 1/3 of the workforce between 50 and 65, and then about 10% of the people are over 65. So already we have a bit of a profile of our, let's call it learner or the learner persona. If we have, let's say, 3 different personas, if we separate it by age here, we have someone who is between 30 and 50, so roughly a millennial. They kind of have a good grasp over technology, but, you know, they may struggle with the latest things. Like, for example, ChatGPT to them could be, I don't know, considered maybe something that doesn't necessarily work for them. And then we have the other persona, which is 50 to 65. So that's around my parents-in-law age. And I see them really enjoying technologies, but maybe sometimes struggling with doing some basic things that for me seem easy, but not as easy for them. And then kind of over 65, this is where my mom falls under, and I can tell you immediately that technology, yay, appreciated very much, but there is a certain barrier there. There is a certain fear, if you will. So I enjoy the fact that, say, my phone can do that, but I'm apprehensive. Okay, so gender, male 70, female 30. To be expected, especially in manufacturing. Education, high school 30, college degree 50%, master degree 20%, years of service, so the tenure, and this is important. So we have 35% between 0 and 5 years, 30% between 5 and 10 years, and over 1/3 of people have been with a company for over 10 years. So again, this goes back to who our demographics are, who are the people working for this company. All right, very quickly, let's take a look at the learning needs assessment. So we're saying 80% of employees need to improve their want to improve their computer skills. 70% of employees want to improve their project management skills. 60% of employees want to improve their financial skills, and then 50% of employees want to improve their technical skills. Now, this is where I'm throwing a bit of a curveball to ChatGPT, because we're looking at a manufacturing company. And the question is, which of these skills would be relevant to a manufacturing company? And when we see that 60% of employees want to improve their financial skills, this to me as a learning and development practitioner would immediately be a bit of a red flag, because majority of people or majority of employees in a manufacturing company would not necessarily need to have financial literacy. Of course, you have your administrative or supportive functions like HR, IT, legal, and so on, finance, obviously, but not necessarily 60%. So let's see what ChatGPT does with that. The next curveball has to do with the training budget, which is $100,000 per year for employee training. And then employee engagement survey results, 70% of employees are satisfied with their job, which, by the way, if I ever got such engagement results, I'd be over the moon. 60% of employees feel valued by the company. 50% of employees feel they have opportunities for growth and development. This is L&D not too happy with. And then 40% of employees feel they received sufficient training and development. So two things here. The first one is that $100,000 per year for employee training may seem like a lot until you remember that we actually have 1,000 employees. So that roughly translates to $100 per person. And I don't know about you, but most training courses, be that internally or externally, will probably cost more than $100. So something to remember here is, especially if you need to design or if you need to create a learning and development strategy, is that you will have to do a lot more with a lot less. So you'll have to utilize a lot of internal resources, potentially invite subject matter experts, again, internally, try to share knowledge or try to collaborate internally or find some sort of learning opportunities from within. So that's one thing to remember. And then for this again, as a learning and development practitioner, if I see these two statements and these two values, I would feel a bit uneasy to say the least, because I'm not happy with the fact that 60% of employees feel they haven't received sufficient training and development opportunities. So we need to make learning and development offering more transparent, maybe make more of it, maybe communicate more that it's there. Okay, so these are a few notes from my end before I feed this to ChatGPT. So let me copy all of this and then let's paste it to ChatGPT and see what it says. All right, based on the information provided, the following learning and development strategy can be implemented for ABC Inc. Oh, wow. It's starting with developing a comprehensive digital literacy program. Given that 80% of the employees want to improve their computer skills, ABC can provide a digital literacy program to help employees develop skills in areas such as basic computer skills, email etiquette, social media management, and other relevant skills. I love this suggestion. I would 100% approve of something like this. And I would even, because again, remember, we're looking at a relatively small budget. What I would do is I would look for, let's call them competency, what is it called? Digital literacy experts from within the organization, someone who's younger potentially, who would be happy to share what they know on all of these things. The only thing that I want to pay attention to here is right this part, relevant skills. What is relevant in manufacturing? What computer or digital skills would you need in a manufacturing company? That's something to kind of keep in mind. All right, let's see what else. Provide project management training. That was to be expected because we did say 70% of people want it. Can offer training on project management methodologies, tools, and techniques. This can be done through workshops, coaching, and mentoring sessions. So again, you see, I think I've trained ChatGPT at this point to not just suggest training and then move on, but actually provide a few more things. Coaching specifically, I think, would work really well for project management because it does, both coaching and mentoring actually, because it can really be the difference between, understanding something theoretically and then seeing how it actually works in practice. There is our curveball. Offer financial skills training. Let's see. To address the 60% of employees who want to improve their financial skills, ABC Inc. can provide training in areas such as financial management, budgeting, and accounting. This training can be delivered through e-learning courses or instructor-led training sessions. So it did take the bite. It didn't differentiate the fact that financial skills may not necessarily be super relevant to manufacturing employees. I could be wrong, guys. I could be completely wrong. I am speculating all of this data to just play around with ChatGPT. So if you see something that is completely not true, let me know. Again, I have somewhat limited experience in terms of what kind of industries I cover. I mostly work with IT, so this is where majority of my strengths lie. But I'm speculating here. I'm trying to expand my horizon. So let's imagine that we do have a manufacturing company. What kind of financial skills would they need? And the fact that it's suggesting an e-learning course, I like, because it can be one of those nice to haves, right? Not a mandatory course, but it's a nice to have. Here, you can do this. You have an opportunity to do this. Instructor-led training sessions, I like because of the fact that these topics specifically here, they're somewhat complicated. You definitely need someone to walk you through the process. You need someone who can answer questions for you. But again, I go back to how relevant is that for a manufacturing company. So I don't know. Let me know. What do I know? Maybe I know nothing. Let's see what else. Provide technical skills training. Since 50% of employees want to improve their technical skills, ABC can provide training on technical skills such as programming, troubleshooting, and technical writing. Yeah, completely off base for me here. Again, going back to the fact that this is a manufacturing job. Unless, and that's, to me, in my mind, a possibility. Let me know if you think it isn't. But a lot of manufacturing companies work with robots, right? They work with machines that do a lot of the work themselves. So it could be that the people working there are not the people who actually manufacture something, but are the people who maintain the machines that manufacture something. So in that case, yeah, it would make sense to provide some opportunities around programming, troubleshooting, technical writing. But again, I'd be cautious. All right, let's see. Encourage continuous learning and development. So ABC can encourage employees to participate in webinars, conferences, and other learning events to keep up to date with industry trends and advancements. This can help boost employee engagement and satisfaction. Both of these statements are factually correct, because when you invite people to participate in webinars and conferences and all of these, yes, it can lead to better engagement. It can lead to better satisfaction. It's very difficult to argue with such a vague statement, so I'm just gonna let it go. Let's see, it keeps going. Wow. Okay. Provide opportunities for growth and development. This is the other curveball, the one that I was very apprehensive about. So ABC can offer opportunities for job shadowing, cross-functional team projects, and mentoring programs to provide employees with opportunities for growth and development. I love it. It's vague. Again, it's not obviously going to give me a lot of specifics, but I love the fact that it's suggesting very specific things like job shadowing and cross-functional team projects and mentoring programs. I absolutely love this. And then there's one more suggestion: increase employee engagement and recognition. Okay, to boost employee engagement, ABC can recognize and reward employees for their achievements and contributions to the organization. This can be done through an employee recognition program, incentives, and other forms of appreciation. So very interesting, I have to say. Does that make sense overall? Yes, it does. And again, it will generate responses based on how good your prompt is. Oh, there's one more. Overall, by implementing these strategies, ABC can improve employee satisfaction, engagement, and productivity. With a training budget of $100,000 per year, ABC can create a comprehensive training and development program that addresses the needs of its diverse workforce. I don't know where it got diverse workforce. I guess based on age. Interesting. I don't know. Maybe it's just one of those buzzwords that it has seen on the internet. Again, your guess is as good as mine. What do you guys think? Are you impressed? Are you not impressed? Is this something that you feel could work for you? Let me know in the chat. Very curious to hear your thoughts on this. I actually have prepared one more test, so let's try and do it. The second prompt, very similar to this one, but this time we're doing an XYZ services and customer service and support in the UK, and we have 500 people. We have a much younger force, so 50% are between 25 and 30 years of age, 30% are between 35 and 45, and then 20% are over 45. We have 40% male, 60% female, education, high school 40%, college degree 40%, master degree 20, and years of service. So 50% have been there less than 5 years, 25% or a quarter has been there between 5 and 10 years, and a quarter has been there for more than 10 years. That is impressive, especially in customer service and support. Let's take a look at some employee skill assessment here. Okay. So 70% of employees have basic communication skills, 60% of employees have basic customer service skills, 50% of employees have basic problem solving, and 40% of employees have advanced conflict resolution skills. So to me, all of these things definitely relate to customer support and services. So yeah, it makes sense. I would have liked to see maybe a slightly higher percentage here for basic customer service, because if that's the core function of the organization, then definitely you want it to be not just basic, right? Training needs assessment, 80% of employees want to improve their communication skills, 70% of employees want to improve their customer service skills, 60% of employees want to improve their problem solving, and 50% want to improve their conflict resolution skills. So we're kind of sticking with these 4 skills. Great. We have a smaller training budget. We have $75,000 per year for employee. Now, because I don't do math in my mind, 75,000 divided by 500 people, that's a little bit better, £150. I used to work with a lot of vendors in the UK, specifically in London. You cannot find a training that would fit in that amount. That's too low. So again, it's one of those cases where you would need to do more with less. And then survey results. 70% of employees are satisfied with their job. Again, great results. 60% feel valued by the company. 50% of employees feel they have opportunities for growth and development. And we're sticking with the 40% of employees who feel they receive sufficient training and development opportunities. So let me copy this and then feed it into ChatGPT in a new chat. And in the meantime, I just saw that I got a question in the chat, so let me read through it. Financial training for manufacturer company could be cost associated with rework or cost associated with each step of manufacturing. You're absolutely right. I didn't think about that. So yeah, it could be, again, financial literacy can take so many shapes and forms. I wouldn't necessarily call it an essential skill, but put like this, yeah, I think it makes sense. All right, thank you for chiming in. So let's take a look what ChatGPT will come up with this prompt. All right, let me take a sip here. So based on the provided information, I would recommend the following learning and development strategy. It's taking a different approach this time around. So let's see. Conduct a comprehensive training needs assessment. To identify the specific learning and development needs of the employees. This should be done through surveys, interviews, focus groups, and observations of job performance. The result of this assessment will help to identify the areas where training and development are most needed. So see, it's already bugging on me because we have this training needs assessment data. I provided it in the prompt, but it's now telling me, no, you need to do a training needs assessment. Okay, let's see what else. Develop a customized training program based on the results of the training needs assessment. Develop a customized training program that addresses the identified needs. The program should be designed to enhance the employee's communication, customer service, problem solving, and conflict resolution. It should also be flexible enough to accommodate the different learning styles of the employees. You can't really argue with that, obviously, but it's not what I was hoping for. So yeah, I guess this is why we're doing these tests. Incorporate experiential learning. It knows I'm a fan of experiential learning. It's sucking up to me. Let's see. Incorporate experiential learning into the training program to enable the employees to apply the skills they have learned to real life situations. This can be achieved through role-playing exercise, case studies, and simulations. So to me, this is going into a granularity level that I don't necessarily feel should be in a learning and development strategy. Should you incorporate experiential learning? Absolutely. Should it be only as part of a training program? Absolutely not. Provide ongoing coaching and mentoring to support the employees' learning and development. This can be done through regular feedback and performance evaluations. Managers should also provide coaching and mentoring to support the employees' growth and development. Do I agree with this statement? Yes, I do. Again, is it giving me what I was hoping it would give me? It wasn't as specific with the first prompt now. That's a bit of a disappointment. Let's see what else it suggests. Implement a career development program. Implement a career development program to provide the employees with opportunities for growth and development. This can include job shadowing, cross-functional training, and mentoring. Interesting. Definitely interesting. It's giving me essentially a list of things that I could do without giving me any specifics based on the data that I fed it. Promote employee engagement. It's essential to provide employees with a sense of purpose and belonging. I mean, again, on a fundamental level, that's correct. This can be achieved through recognition programs, employee appreciation events, and opportunities for social interaction. Great. Evaluate the effectiveness of the training program by tracking the progress of the employees over time. This can be done through regular performance evaluations, employee feedback, and customer satisfaction surveys. So interestingly enough here, it does include this customer satisfaction survey, and I'm wondering if it's actually taking into consideration the fact that this is a customer support or customer services company, or if it's just saying that because it read it somewhere and now it just makes sense to include it here. In conclusion, a comprehensive learning and development strategy that incorporates a customized training program, experiential learning, ongoing coaching, mentoring, career development, employee engagement, and evaluation is recommended for XYZ services. Again, you can't really argue with that. It is giving you some ideas. Is it giving you specifics? Is it following the data that you are giving it? Probably not. I don't think. I don't know. What do you guys think? Does this make sense to you? Do you want me to do another prompt? Let me know. Let me know. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on this. In the meantime, what we'll do is we'll move on with yet another test, but instead of feeding it data and seeing what it will spit out, we're actually going to ask ChatGPT to create some data for us, because essentially, and to me, this is important. This is the key takeaway for you. The one that I want to leave you with is, how do you actually create a learning and development strategy, especially if it's from scratch? And I spoke to my team and I told them, hey, can you guys give me some fake data that I can use to then create a strategy on the spot? And they were like, yeah, no, we're too busy. Good luck with that. And then I thought, hey, why don't I ask ChatGPT? So this is exactly what I'm going to do now. This is all happening live in front of you. This is the prompt that I am going to go with. Generate a fictitious company profile. And I want you to include general overview, the size of the company, a short description of the industry, company strategy, 2 or 3 company goals, a brief SWOT analysis, employee demographic, employee skill assessment, training needs assessment, training budget, and employee engagement survey results. So we're sticking to these. There are probably more prompts that I could use, but let's stick with these ones. Okay, so let's see what it's going to give me. For one, it says sure. So, okay, we have a company. It's called Techwave. It's a software development company founded in 2010. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for it to generate everything, and then I'm going to copy it over to my iPad because I want to take notes and I want to walk you through how I would do it. So let's give ChatGPT a couple of seconds there to generate our fake company for us. Gaurav, now you've made me think. What other non-manufacturing skills would you not at first glance sort of consider to be essential for a manufacturing company? Because what you just had said there in the chat messages was spot on. I absolutely agree. So it'd be interesting to know, and not just to Gaurav, obviously, I'm asking everyone who is on the call here today, what are some of those skills that at first glance may not seem essential to a company like manufacturing, but then turn out they are, or they could be? Very curious. Didn't think about that. Thank you for joining the chat there with that message. Very important stuff. Okay, I think it's nearing the end. Let's see, training budget. Oh, we have a training budget. Just said has allocated 10% of its annual budget for training and development. So what is the revenue? Hopefully they've given us a number there. Okay, let's see. All right, so like I said, I'm gonna copy all of this into my, there we go, oh my goodness, okay. So just give me 1 second to make this look a little bit more presentable so we can work with this data. And I'll share my screen in just a moment. Okay. There we go. So let me share my screen with you. This is the copy, the same, oh no, that's not gonna work. Okay, let's make this smaller. And I'll move it around. No, sorry. I'm gonna have to do it differently. Nope. There we go. Let's make the size smaller. Well, maybe not that small. Okay, there we go. So, what do we have here? So we know the name of the company, which is Techwave, and it's a software development company founded in 2010. Okay, so what does that give us? 13 years now. Okay, by a group of experienced software engineers. Wonderful. Since its inception, the company has been committed to delivering high-quality software solutions. Okay, so we now know what, well, we kind of know what the company does. Using the latest technology and best practices, Techwave operates globally. Okay, this is important, with offices in North America, Europe, and Asia. So one thing I can tell you straight away is that when you have North America, Europe, or Asia, when you have even two continents, one thing that is true, regardless of which two continents you pick, is there's going to be a time difference, which means that whatever you do, chances are you'll have to do it in different, 3 times in this case, or 2 times if you're only looking at 2 continents, but you'll have to do the same thing, in our case, 3 times, once for North America, once for Europe, and once for Asia. So off the bat, we know that we're going to have some duplications there. Company size has a total of 500 employees, including developer. Okay, this is important. So we have developers, we have project managers, we have quality assurance engineers, and we have support staff. Good. The company has experienced steady growth over the years with a revenue of, there we go, 50 million in 2020. Hey, go Techwave. The industry operates in the software development industry, providing custom software solutions. Okay, custom software solutions to clients in various sectors, including, there we go, healthcare, finance, education, retail. The company prides itself on staying up to date with the latest trends, including there we go, cloud computing, artificial intelligence, and cybersecurity. Very interesting. Okay. Company strategy is to provide its clients with custom software solutions that meet their specific needs while maintaining the highest quality standards. this is vague, but I mean, most companies want to do that. The company focuses on building long-term relationships with clients. Okay, there we go. We already know what is one value. Long-term relationships with clients, providing exceptional customer service. Good. Techwave also invests heavily in research and development. This is important. Continually improving its software development process and staying ahead of the competition. Good. Let's take a look at 3 company goals. Expand its market share in the healthcare sector by 15% in the next 2 years. Okay, so healthcare, 15%, 2 years. Good. Increase employee satisfaction by 20% by the end of the year. Okay, we need to check what is the current employee satisfaction. And then reduce software development time by 10% by implementing new development tools and methodologies. Okay, this is very interesting. Let's take a look at the SWOT analysis. So strengths: experienced team, reputation for high quality work, global reach, and commitment to innovation. Okay. Weaknesses: reliance on a few key clients. Ooh, there we go. There we go. This is why we need to be expanding the healthcare sector. Limited marketing and sales resources. Yeah. Difficulty attracting top talent in a competitive. Yeah. There we go. There we go. So straight off the bat, one thing that I can tell you, especially looking at these things, is, and I'll start from the last one, attracting top talent. So who is top talent? These are, in this case, software engineers who are very experienced, who are very, very knowledgeable, who have been doing this for many years. And so you need to understand, what is it that these guys want? Well, of course, they want good salary. That goes without saying. They want good benefits. They want, I don't know, insurance, whatever it may be. But one thing, and you can look up many different researches on the topic, one thing they all want is to have good learning and development opportunities. So that is important to you. As a learning and development practitioner, you want to be providing them with those learning and development opportunities. And so when you may absolutely approach your talent acquisition team and go, hey guys, I'm going to create some learning and development opportunities for our staff, and you can use those to advertise when you're searching for top talent. And then in terms of limited marketing and sales resources, that is somewhat surprising to me, especially because we saw, what is it, 50 million in 2022 in terms of revenue. So that is a bit surprising to me. Maybe where does the money go? Because you need to be reinvesting in the business, obviously. But what the implication for learning and development is that potentially you will be working with a small budget. All right, opportunities, growing demand for custom software solutions. This is good. Increasing focus on data privacy. Okay, there we go. Data privacy, cybersecurity, expanding into new markets. Good stuff for us to know. So something for us to keep in mind there. Intense competition from established companies and new startups. Yeah, like I said, competitive market. Changing technology landscape. This is very, very important for L&D because it means you need to be staying on top of things. You need to be providing those learning opportunities for, for those new technologies that are coming up, for the new things that are popping here and there, for how things are changing. So this is very important. And economic downturns, yeah, I mean, everyone is affected by it, especially now. Let's take a look at the demographic. Techwave has a diverse workforce with employees from different ethnicities, nationalities, and backgrounds. The company has a mix of experienced professionals and recent graduates. Oh, that's good to know. Graduates are more easy to impress. I love graduates. Okay, with an average age of, age of 32 years old. The gender is split 60 male, 40 female, to be expected in IT. Employee, let's highlight it because it will come in handy. Employee skill assessment. So let's take a look. Techwave regularly assesses its employee skills to ensure that they have the necessary knowledge and expertise to deliver high quality software solutions. The company has a comprehensive training and development program that provides employees with opportunities to learn new skills, stay up to date with latest technology trends. So there is something there. We just don't know what it is. Interesting. So, training needs assessment. Techwave conducts a training needs assessment every year to identify skill gaps. That's commendable. You should do that too. And training requirements for its employees. The company uses a combination of employee feedback, performance reviews, industry analysis, and identifying training needs. So it's not actually telling us anything. Maybe I need to ask it more. Yeah, let's do that. Let's go back to ChatGPT here. And the good news is that you can absolutely use the same chat to continue the conversation around it. So what should I ask it? Well, what kind of skills and knowledge do employees need to have? Yeah, I think I'm happy with this prompt. Let's see. The skills and knowledge that employees need to have at Techwave depend on their specific roles and responsibilities. However, in general, values employees who have strong technical skills, excellent communication, collaboration, and a commitment to continuous learning. Here's some key skills and knowledge that Techwave looks for in its employees. Okay, so it's going to give us a list, right? That's good, I suppose. Technical skills, software development company, so it values employees who have strong technical skills in areas such as programming, software architecture, data analysis, and quality assurance. The specific technical skills required would depend on the employee's role and the projects they're working on. So then we go into communication, collaboration, continuous learning and development, problem solving, project management, customer services skills. Okay. Okay, let me try another prompt. What is the competency levels, or what are the competency levels rather? The competency levels of the employees. Or should I say the current competency levels of the employees? You know what? Let's try. Let's test it. Ah, there we go. We've hit a wall. As an AI language model, I don't have access to specific information about the current competency level of employees Techwave. However, based on the company's commitment to training and development, it's likely that they regularly assess its employees' competencies to provide training and development. There is an emphasis on continuous learning. In general, a company like Techwave would prioritize ensuring its employees have the necessary skills and knowledge to deliver high-quality software solutions. This might involve providing training in specific technology. Okay, it's not going to tell us, so I guess we'll just have to make it up as we go. So, bit of a question mark here, definitely. Training budget. So Techwave has allocated 10% of its, no. Hang on. 10% of its annual budget. What is the total budget? The company believes that investing in its employee skills and knowledge is essential to delivering high quality software. 10% is not a lot, okay? Really not a lot. So again, we don't know what we're working with here. And then finally, engagement survey result. And the most recent employee engagement survey result, Techwave received an overall 85 out of 100, indicating high level of, there we go, employee satisfaction. The survey showed that employees appreciated the company's commitment to innovation, customer service, and work-life balance. However, some employees expressed concerns about the limited there we go. As an L&D, I don't want to be reading this. So we have limited career growth opportunities and the workload. Yeah, that checks out. Techwave is working on addressing these concerns by providing more opportunities for career growth and implementing measures to reduce the workload. So we don't know what these opportunities are. We don't know what are the measures to reduce workload. If I have to guess, actually, I wouldn't guess. So let me walk you through very quickly kind of the overall process that I normally use. And I roughly break it into 4 parts. So I'll try to do that here. Yeah, let's say that this is a rectangle. So these are the 4 steps that I would normally use to kind of, no, never mind. let's imagine that these are 4 rectangles representing the 4 steps. So the very first step that I normally go to is to really understand the current state of things. Because you want to understand what's going on. You want to be understanding the company strategy, and this is probably the most important piece of advice that I can give you. You want to understand what is the company goals, strategy, vision, mission, what the company is trying to accomplish, how is it trying to accomplish that. So this is something that you want to start with. The other thing that you definitely want to start with and you want to understand more of is what HR or how HR is planning on supporting the company strategy. And this means any talent implications. For example, if the company is going to hire a bunch of new people, you as L&D obviously need to be aware of this and then be able to handle all the onboarding, or at least help support the onboarding of these new employees. One thing that you absolutely need to consider is talking to employees and leaders and to understand what are their expectations. One thing that I personally advise you to do here specifically for this first step is to know what the current trends in the industry are. For example, if you're working in IT, you need to understand what's happening in IT. If you're working in manufacturing, you need to understand what's happening in manufacturing. The external factors is also something, SWOT analysis, I mentioned that. Another type of analysis that looks at external influencing factors is the PESTLE analysis, which looks at political, economic, sociological, technological, legal, and environmental factors that might affect the company in general. One thing that I would do to understand kind of the current situation in this case is also to do a bit of an inventory of everything that I currently offer in L&D. So when we looked at over here, it said, oh yeah, we have some career opportunities. We are providing more opportunities. I don't know what these are, so I would like to understand a little bit more. What else can you look at? Oh, you need to look at your feedback scores. Everything that you've done in the past year or in the past few years, go back to it, review the feedback, look at your NPS scores, and understand what's working, what isn't working. And just some internal research in general, like talk to HR, look at the engagement survey results as we did here. But also look at your exit interviews, look at what new hires are providing as feedback, look at the 360-degree feedback that people are giving you, look at what is the usage on the learning management system if you have one, check out the performance ratings. If your company uses competency frameworks, take a look at those, understand what is the current state. So if we look at our example here, one thing that we know for certain is that we need to have more career opportunities. Career opportunities. I actually have very nice handwriting. I don't know why it doesn't translate when I type or when I write on my iPad, so I apologize for that. So we need more career opportunities. What else do we know about the current state? Well, we know that this is a company that wants to, if we go back to the company goals, it wants to expand its market share. It wants to increase. By the way, this is wonderful that there is a goal in here that focuses internally, specifically around employee satisfaction. Reduce software. By the way, it says increase employee satisfaction by 80%, but then we had employee satisfaction 85 out of 100. That's unrealistic. You can't have 100% employee satisfaction. So by default, that's not going to happen. But reduce software development time. So these are the goals that we need to be looking at when it comes to understanding what is the current state, and then moving on to the second step in just a moment, what is the desired state that we want to be at? So we need to understand the career opportunities. We need to understand the specific skills and knowledge that each of the 5 roles that we had here in our brief, what are the specific skills and knowledge required for each of those roles? And then finally, I think when I look at this brief, we have quite a few, oh, there we go. There it is. Cloud computing, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity. So we already know that these are sort of the three things that we need to be paying attention to. And that is something that will actually go into the second stage here of our process. And that is to design, in effect, the desired state. And that means to think about what is the vision? What do you want to achieve? What needs to happen? What are the objectives? Your evaluation needs to be planned from this point on. How will you measure the success of your strategy? How will you measure how well you've done with this project or this program or whatever it is that you've planned? You want to be thinking about your stakeholders. Who are they? And we already know that we have what is it? Hang on. We have developers, project managers over here. If we look at those, we have developers, project managers, quality assurance, and support staff. So our stakeholders are right there and then. What else? You need to understand what are the priority learning needs, because, and this goes back to this piece here, what are specific skills and knowledge required for us to be able to accomplish these company goals. And so I would say that you need to focus, if we look at this particular stage, when it comes to your stakeholders, again, you know who they are. You need to understand what are the, let's call them priority learning needs. And then really to start thinking about the learning methods that you're going to use. This is where you do that. I don't necessarily, again, going back to what I've been mentioning in the past, I don't necessarily think that you need to be designing the curriculum at this point, but you do want to be considering, oh, what are the learning methods that I have at my disposal? What do I know works well and what do I know doesn't work well? For example, do in-house workshops work well? Well, then let's keep doing those. But if we know, for example, that no one is using our library of online courses, then let's not do that anymore. So stuff like that. In step number 3 is essentially where I compare the current versus desired states. This is the analysis that you do essentially between the first 2 steps. Where we are right now, where we want to be, and this is essentially you identify the gaps. This is what it's all about. We couldn't get enough information from ChatGPT to actually be able to do a proper analysis at this point. But one thing you definitely want to consider is what are, let's call it ID, the gaps. And then once you've identified those gaps, what you want to do is prioritize them. I'll give you one very, very quick tool that you can use. Essentially, and let's say that you have, let's say that you have impact over on this side of our chart, and then you have effort on this side of our chart. Okay, so what you can do is you can split it into low, medium, and high and do the same thing for impact. And what you have is a bit of a grid of things that, you know, maybe, for example, low effort, but will have, this is low effort, but might have a high impact. These are your quick wins, right? Or you may have something that's going to take you a very long time to design, but at the same time, you know, it's going to have an amazing impact. So this is where that activity will sit in. And this is something that you can easily use for prioritizing your gaps. If you want me to talk more about impact and effort, why did I type it with a D? Apologies for that. It's a T here. If you want me to talk more about impact and effort, let me know in the chat and I will make sure to include it in our next topic. And then finally, and this is probably the most important step, is where we prepare the plan. Or the strategy itself. Because essentially what you want to have here is you want to have your tasks, right? You want to know what is it that you're doing. You want to have an owner for each task, and you want to have some timelines. Okay, so when is the deadline for each of those? You want to consider what sort of processes will be affected. Maybe how people request training will need to change because that doesn't work. And then you want to talk about documentation that either needs to be changed or needs to be created. And of course, content. This is something to, oh, sorry, that was terribly written, but hopefully you understand that that's content. So these are the three sort of things that you would need to consider in this particular case. So if we look at our brief here from ChatGPT, unfortunately, there are some missing pieces, but we understand that this is a company made up of young people. We have software engineers, we have project managers, we have quality assurance engineers, we have support staff. So we need to be catering to these. We need to help them focus on things like cloud computing and artificial intelligence and cybersecurity. We might potentially need to look into these industries and kind of understand what are the implications of working in these industries, because working in healthcare could be very different than working with education, and then very, very different than working with retail. So we need to understand what those implications are. But I would say something that could definitely work for this particular group of people. Unfortunately, we don't know what the budget is, so that will be a major factor in deciding what you do with this. But I would say one thing that could work for a Techwave in this case is to create some kind of an internal program where more senior employees or more experienced employees help coach, mentor, train, help younger, less experienced ones learn, because this isn't going to require a lot of time, a lot of budgets. It will require an enormous time of for coordination, but hey, that's live. One thing, however, that's got me worried is this workload, but at the same time, you're kind of killing two birds with one stone, because if you provide this opportunity for more experienced employees to train less experienced one, that can easily be considered a career growth opportunity. So quite a few things here. I really love this brief. I realized we are way past the hour that I normally try to stick to for these live streams. So I think I'm going to wrap up the session for now. I hope that this gave you a bit of an idea of how you can create a learning and development strategy. ChatGPT can definitely be a way to save some time. It can give you some guidance. I'm not saying it's going to do the work for you. Hopefully you're not walking away with that. But yeah. These are essentially the four steps that I normally use to create a learning and development strategy, and ChatGPT can definitely be a bit of a help in that regard. How do you use ChatGPT? Have you used ChatGPT? Let me know all of these things in the chat and in the comments of the recording. As you guys know, the recording will remain on the L&D Academy's channel. So that is going to be it. All I have to say is thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you, Madalena. Thank you. It was time very well spent. I am so, so happy to see that. You have been an amazing and genuinely fantastic audience. Again, thank you for all of you who stuck till the very end. As I promised, I do have a special promo code that you can get 10% off our flagship course, Learning and Development Fundamentals. The link to the course is in the description down below, and the promo code that you can use is LIVESTREAM. No spaces, not case sensitive, just type LIVESTREAM in the checkout, and that will give you 10% off our flagship course. If you enjoy the stream and would like to see more like it, please consider liking and subscribing to the L&D Academy's channel. Again, thank you guys so much. Good luck to everyone, and I will see you around. Bye for now.